All right, man. So how was the well, first of all, this is our first live on YouTube. I know
Hmm.
it's a little technical difficulty, but we made it. We made it work, man. We made it work. But how was your week for trading today, man?
To be honest with you, I haven't made any real swings or anything like that. The only
Mhm.
trade that I made, I actually got out of a trade that I took a loss on. That was Ion Q. I
Okay.
actually didn't need to take a loss on it, but ended up taking a loss, which was frustrating. But
What you got a
I'm
call
looking
or put on it?
had a call on it, and
Okay.
it didn't really turn out the way I wanted it to. I should have sold most of it last week, and I didn't, and I paid for holding it. But got into some Tesla leaks, and
Okay.
then I just saw that Tesla got awarded a $400 million contract by the U.S. government to build Cybertrucks.
But listen though,
So,
let's talk about that though, because it's like when they were asking Elon about oversights into how
mhm.
this could not become a conflict of interest, they said, "Oh, he's gonna, you know, he's gonna man dog himself, basically. Like, they didn't give him anybody over him to check if those things like. So how do you? That's nuts, man. I mean, I think we talked about this before. It's like now that he's working for the government, working with the government, um, how does that impact Tesla? And I think a lot of things that he done kind of impact him a little negatively over the past
Yeah.
few days. Um,
Hmm.
and then you can see the stock going out from like 460 all the way down to like 320. I think he like 324, 325 today or yesterday.
Yeah. Hmm.
So I mean, that's definitely a good thing. I mean, for the stock at least, they're getting more customers,
Yeah. I
especially
think
for the government.
a lot of people were going back with that narrative about how his mind is not in one place and how he's focused on Doge and not really focused on Tesla. So
Yeah.
the stock has been out of all of the quote unquote Magnificent Seven. The stock has been getting a beating, but I have been waiting and looking for a time to get in long term because
Yeah.
I feel like Tesla under 400 is a good long term investment. So
Yeah.
I got my opportunity today. It ran right into that zone
Yep.
that it was at right before it took off. I think in that was right before on late
Right after the
November.
election. Yeah, right after the
Yeah.
election.
So
Yeah.
right in late November before it took off. So it got right back into that zone. So I ended up getting into there. I don't know if it's gonna hold, but I got 2027 leaps, so I'm gonna hold these for a while.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a good one to have for a long time. I was honestly hoping they would get down to like 300s, like 301, maybe like a little bit dip to like 299 or something like that, because that would be right around
Hmm.
that 200 EMA. Then I
Yeah.
was like, that's what I was gonna get in. But I mean, we'll see. We'll see how the stock reacts in the next couple of days to that news and see if that's actually gonna be a mover for them.
Yeah. If it comes down to 290, that 200 EMA, that's I got 299.85. I would take another look at them and possibly averaging down. So we'll see how that turns out.
Okay. But anyways, on today, man. So we have the CPI came out today.
Yeah.
And it looks like the market kind of overreacted to it a little bit. Which I
Yeah.
mean, do you call that overreaction? Because it seemed like they bought everything back up as soon as it dipped. And then we talked a little bit about it in the morning, and I was like, they're gonna buy the dip, and literally they just showed up and bought the dip. You know what I mean? So let's
The moment you text me, I was just like, I'm waiting. And next thing, it didn't even. I don't even think they waited. Like it just went.
yep. There was no wait. Like you can see all the stock just go up.
And and that's the same thing that happened yesterday.
Yep. Yep. So the dip buyers are here. So I don't know if it's retail traders, I don't know if it's institutional traders, but somebody's buying those stocks every time there's a dip. Somebody's buying them up. So let's talk a little bit about CPI, man. If you want to break it down for us, like what did they say? What's the numbers looking like? And why did we see that drop? And then I guess why did we see like a recovery right afterwards? Like, you know?
So I think CPI came in at 3.0%. Everybody was kind of expecting 2.9, so
Yep.
slightly higher. But what we're starting to see is, higher inflation than people would like to see.
Yeah.
I will always remind people the Fed does not look at CPI. The Fed looks at PCE.
BCE.
CPI
Yeah.
CPI tends to get the more headline reaction a lot of
Yeah.
times. With PCE is what really matters to the Fed. So if you look at core CPI came in a little hotter than people expected. So that initial reading caused that drop.
Right.
Now, what I will say is if you want to look at it from a non-biased point of view, a lot of the inflation we're seeing are in things like food and like shelter.
I mean, go look at the prices of eggs. I think it's up like 15%, you
And
know?
that's because I guess chickens and stuff were like dying from that bird flu stuff. So that's causing some, supply shock.
Yep.
But one of the things that Jerome said is we're not seeing wage inflation. So
Mm,
one of the things, so if you listen to what he said at the last Fed meeting, he said that wages is not a big cause or is something that is causing inflation based on what they're seeing.
right.
So with that information, the way I would be looking at it is okay, most of the inflation that we're seeing is going to affect consumers, right?
Hmm.
So companies whose main customers are consumers probably going to have a little bit of a harder time because again, if consumers have are spending more money on necessities or are having less money to spend on discretionary income, then those customers are going to get hit a little bit harder.
Right.
But companies that have most of their customers as business, again, B2C versus, I mean, B2B versus B2C, those companies, if there's not their biggest inflation issue is going to be wage inflation.
Right.
So if you look at the companies that actually held up pretty well in this environment, software companies. We
We
saw
talked
some
about that.
pretty we talked about this coming in 2025. Which sectors of the market are going to be able to hold up a little bit better
Right.
based on tariffs and based on inflation. You had some really strong moves in like Uber held up pretty good, Planeteer held up pretty good.
Yeah.
Um,
That move on
Crouch,
Uber is ridiculous.
yeah, the Uber move over the last couple of days has been ridiculous. So even though CPI was a little hotter than expected from, I think if you look at it from a consumer standpoint, like, okay, consumers are going to get hit pretty hard. But if you look at it from a business standpoint and you're not seeing wage inflation,
Hmm.
those companies who have more B2B relationships didn't do too bad today. So we'll see what PPI says tomorrow. But for the most part, I think the market kind of reacted to that drop, and then all of a sudden it started to, what do you call it? Started to kind of have like common sense to say,
Right.
okay, let's kind of like figure this out from a non-biased point of view. So, you know, I didn't expect the whole market to come back like that. Be honest with you, because
That was
QQQ
too
finished,
quick.
yeah, QQQ finished in the green,
Right.
and if we
That-
look at the RSP and SPY, those finished in the red. But
right. I think a lot of the sector also, I mean, the concentration is on technology stocks, right? I guess
yes,
that kind of explain the whole thing where, the focus being on like softwares and stuff. So you can see
yep,
that PQ moving up, NQ actually moved up. ES, I mean, didn't really close in the green.
hmm
ES closed in the red, and now the pre-market now is kind of like it's up, but it's not up like it's like up like 0.2020%.
let me see what
Um,
futures are doing right now. Yeah, NQ is up. Futures are
NQ's
kind
up.
of, yeah, I can see that. So I don't know. I think in this environment of inflation, I think you can sort of start to pick and choose areas that are kind of, how should I put it? They're managing pretty well, right?
Mhm.
Uh, when I look at the sectors that are kind of leading the market right now, software very strong in a lot of places, and then healthcare,
Yes.
healthcare has been fairly strong.
Did you see
Um,
CVS after the report?
I saw that move. I
That
saw that
is
move.
crazy.
So it
They're
tells me whatever they're doing on the cost cutting edge is starting to
trying to show up. Yep.
show up. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
So another area that's actually done pretty good so far, go look at SLD
Oh, don't tell
and
me Silver is out here doing his thing.
go look at year to date SLD.
Oh my God. Okay.
Right?
So this thing, it has so many gaps. Like, how do you
It does. I don't know how you trade it,
you
but
gotta
you
buy
can
you gotta
see.
buy you gotta buy the whole thing. You can't, I don't know if you can trade this one. You just gotta buy the shares and yeah.
I mean,
Speaking
it's
of
something like
SLV, what is GLD doing? GLD is the same thing.
so precious metals are actually one of the
Wow.
strongest sectors in the market.
Interesting. Yeah, gold is up, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. So I have been looking at those three sectors that I've been paying attention to. Gold, obviously, because people have higher expectations of inflation.
Right.
Silver, and then I looked at healthcare, which is more of a defensive sector, and
Hmm.
then software, which has been one of the strongest. I mean, look at the move that AppLovin made today after earnings. I mean, APP, go look at
Good God.
that.
I was sitting here, I was talking to Ronnie, and I was sitting here, I was like, feel like I need to take a trade today for one of those earnings trade, but I was like, I don't know, man. The last couple of earnings trade I did, it just didn't really work out, even if the stock moved in the direction that I wanted. So I'll be
Didn't
curious to
get it.
see.
Yeah,
Be
I'll be
curious to see.
curious to see what happens.
Yeah, man, I
And
think
then I'm
it's
looking.
I think it's back up. Look at Robinhood. Robinhood is up too, like $8 after they reported.
Yeah, Robinhood is up almost 15% after hours.
Mm-hmm.
Dutch Bros is up 23.98% after hours.
Wow, app loving $109. That is
Can you?
crazy. What is their
That's a
market cap?
their market
Market cap
cap.
is 127 billion. Man,
Yeah,
that's a bunch of buyers that came through. That's crazy.
it's probably one of those. It's probably heavily shorted too, as well. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, because that's crazy. That's a crazy move. Get me a thirty
Um,
percent.
yeah, Cisco was up almost 7% after hours.
Yeah.
And then even though they report tomorrow, but Datadog is getting some sympathy, and they're up almost 5% after hours. So
Yep.
you're seeing Snowflake is up after hours. You're seeing
Yep.
Adobe is up after hours. MongoDB is up after hours. So again, I said this going into 2025. I said that if there's any place I would look to not have to really worry about the tariff headlines, software companies, man.
Software.
And I'm not saying all of them are doing well, but there's a good CrowdStrike's another one that keeps hitting all-time highs.
Yep.
A lot of these companies are kind of weathering the storm. So
And you can tell, that's a lot of people probably have. I would say a lot of institutional traders probably have the same train of thoughts, right? Like,
yeah. Hmm.
what is not going to be? I mean, it's almost like non-brainer. It's like what sector is not going to be impacted by tariffs? You know what I mean? Because it's like
Correct.
they don't sell actual goods. You don't have to
Yeah.
transport anything on a ship, a boat, truck, plane, nothing. Everything is online. So you can't really put a tariff on that. So yeah, that's definitely a good sector to be in right now. Software.
Yeah. Yeah. Software, man, that has been one of the leading sectors for this year. So I am, I mean, again, I'm very, very bullish on the software front, just based on what I'm seeing so far.
Yep.
We'll have to see if it lasts because again, you have to continue to produce good earnings and give good guidance.
Facts.
But
Yep.
so far, I mean, I've been spot on with that one so far.
That's crazy. How about the banking sector? I know XLF, we talked about it a lot. XLF made a really good move to the upside today. Um,
Yeah,
after they sold off.
XLF bounced pretty well after it sold off. That's another sector that's beating XLF on its own is almost up 6% today. I mean,
Yep.
6% this year. And if you compare that to SPY, SPY is only up 2.5%, and then QQQ is only up 3%, and then
Yep.
IWM basically almost flat. So again, that's another sector that kind of dodges that tariff bullet a little bit. So yeah, I would continue to be bullish. I would continue to be bullish. And I will also say that for the banks that are well capitalized, that have good businesses, again, like the JP Morgans, um, being able to loan money at the higher interest rate,
Yep.
right, is not a bad idea. So we've seen the 10-year move up, I think, past what, 4.6 today?
46. Yep.
Yeah. So from that standpoint, yeah. Now, again, their loan volume might decrease because not as many people want to, get loaned money at those higher rates. But net interest margin, I'm assuming that number will continue to go up as long as we keep seeing higher rates. So, you know, those to me, if like again, those to me would be the two sectors that I am fairly bullish on in this environment that we're seeing right now.
Right. Um, so let's pivot a little bit to one of the most interesting news. I know you found this article that talks about there's a 30-story Ameriprise financial center in downtown Minneapolis that just sold at a staggering 97% discount. 97% discount on a huge, tall building in downtown Minneapolis. And if you guys don't know Minneapolis, Minneapolis is kind of like considered like almost like the Silicon Valley of the Midwest because it's like they really have a lot of technology companies there. So for a company like that to be sold at nine, I mean, the building sold at 97% discount. I mean, that's nuts. And how much was it purchased for? It doesn't really tell me on the story here.
So let me give you the details. So remember going back to last year,
Mm-hmm.
I kept saying there is something going on in commercial real estate that
Yep.
no one is talking about.
Yep.
And I don't know what it is, but I'm starting to smell more smoke. So
Mm.
I'm going to give everyone some data on some of the big losses that have occurred in the commercial real estate sector
Mm-hmm.
over the since last year and then kind of going into this year. And these are not happening in like small cities. These are major cities. So let me go through my list. So the most recent one, we talked about the Ameriprise Financial Center,
Yep.
downtown Minneapolis. That building was sold in 2016 for $200 million. It
Dang.
was just sold this year for 6.2 million, 6.25 million. That is a loss of $193.75 million.
I mean, we always say that real estate go up. So what happened here?
To be honest, and this is what I keep trying to tell people. I am real estate is a good long-term investment in most
Yep.
cases.
Yep.
Let's just get that out the way. It is a good investment long term. But in some instances, you get to a point where it I mean, it may not always be a good investment. Now, I don't know if this is still a byproduct of the work from home. The occupancy rates are pretty low. People trying to dump these assets and get out of that. Maybe that's part of the story. But I'll give you another one. 631 Howard Street in San Francisco
Hmm.
was sold for 62 million in 2014. That same building was bought for 36.4 million in 2024 to $25.6 million loss. Let me give you another one. 522 Fifth Avenue in New York. The mortgage on that building was $224 million. That mortgage was bought by someone else in 2024 for $134 million, a $90 million loss.
God dang.
1740 Broadway, New York, New York. That building was bought in 2014 for 605 million. That same building was sold in 2024 for 186 million, a $419 million loss. 909 Chestnut, St. Louis, Missouri, downtown. That building was bought for 206 million in 2006. That same building was sold in 2024 for two no for 3.6 million,
Oh my
a,
God.
a loss of $202.4 million.
$200 million.
135 West 50th Street in New York, New York, sold in 2006 for 332 million, was again sold in 2024 for 8.5 million, a loss of 323.5 million dollars. So when we add up all these losses, we're close to about $1 billion in
Billion
losses
dollars, yeah.
in commercial real estate.
So
And
who's eating all this loss? That's what I want to
that
know. Who's
that's
who's
the
like impacted by that?
that's the question. That's the big question. The
Hmm.
only building I know was 1740 Broadway. I want to say, God, who was the company that they said? I don't know if it was Blackstone that took the loss or
Hmm.
Invesco, but somebody ate that loss. Somebody's eating these losses. And what I want to know is who was the bank that provided the loan on these buildings,
Right.
and how was that affecting their balance sheet? Because again, these are, and I don't, to me, I don't know if we've seen the end of it. But again, we're talking about San Francisco, Minneapolis, multiple properties in New York, and St. Louis, all major cities. And these are buildings in their downtown. So,
Yeah, something is definitely going on because if you look up online now, just type in like current market condition for um like retail real estate and all this stuff, it tells you
mhm.
like it's on high demand, is going up. Um, but that's not what we're seeing happening. Like we see like these huge buildings, this expensive buildings being let go for like fractional prices. So either somebody's taking a loss or somebody's getting out before. Well, somebody probably took a lot of loss and they're like, you know what, this is enough. Like, just give me something. Just let me walk out of here with at least a hat on my head, basically. Take everything else.
Yep.
So I, somebody's taking a huge L on these investments, but you don't see you reporting anywhere.
Yeah, I'm
Even
not hearing,
even when they're reporting, it's like they just drop it in like a quick story and nobody really pays attention to it.
I am not hearing any big news, any big headlines around commercial real estate. And as far as some of these buildings that are being sold for pennies on the dollar, I mean, I think there's another building in San Francisco that's also trying to get sold, and I think it's going to get sold for like 80 to like 90% less than what it was valued at when it was bought a couple years ago. Um, I
Mm,
know with the retail spaces in San Francisco, a lot of businesses have exited in the Bay Area. That I know for sure.
right.
Um, but I think that the commercial side has not gotten a lot of attention. And again, one of the buildings I think about in San Francisco is the Salesforce building. I know that's not 100%
Mhm.
occupied. And I kind of want to see what the numbers are on that because man, I'm pretty sure there's some there are some big losers from that
How,
investment.
how how big is that? How big is that building?
I don't know how big it is, but it's big. It's huge. It is huge. So I am I am worried about what those numbers look like because man, it is not to me, it's not looking too good just based on what I've seen. But my question is that going to shock or impact the market? Because again, I haven't really seen any headlines or anything like that yet.
Interesting, man. So how would you? I guess I know we talked a little bit about this. Maybe start looking at like some of the banks that offer those loans and all this stuff. I mean, for such a loss like that, like how would they even like write that off? Because they're the one providing that loan. So it's like, how did they even write it off? Like, hey, we're just gonna eat this loss and write it down.
To be honest with you, I don't know. I don't know the details around that. The only people that I know that might be taking a look at this are the same people that were in the Big Short, who were shorting
Yeah,
all of those mortgages, all
yeah,
those subprime mortgages.
yeah. I won't be surprised if they have some type of
I
shorts
wouldn't
going.
be I wouldn't be surprised if they had some types of shorts going into that
Yeah,
either.
yeah.
Yeah, I would not be surprised. So, but that's something to
And
keep an eye on. If you start to see commercial real estate collapse, remember where you heard it
remember
first.
where you heard it first.
Remember where you heard it first.
But I still think that's very interesting that, we didn't see this big of an exit right after COVID, right? After COVID, I think like a lot of offices, commercial estates, retail spaces were kind of empty. But we've seen some bounces from there. But now
Hmm.
it's just like, okay, are we going backwards? Like, I'm really curious to know what exactly is happening in that area, Um, because yeah, somebody's taking a big L, but nobody knows who, which is strange.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the banks that provided that loan, like I said, I'm pretty sure they're taking those L's. I just don't know who those banks are. I really don't
Right.
know.
Right.
Yeah. So you probably got to start doing some digging on the balance sheets of whoever owned the building and originally purchased it, like the original purchaser, and then start doing your digging from there.
Yep. 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 But yeah, that'll be pretty interesting to actually like find that. I might do some digging there, man, trying to figure out
Start
who's
going down a rabbit hole.
yeah, who's making money. How are we gonna make money off of this? Because
Exactly.
some is happening. You know what I mean? So um your boy Powell was talking all week this week. He talked on Tuesday, he talked today. Did you get a chance to at least to look at any of the stuff that he talked about at all in terms of like inflations or any outlook coming out for like interest rate and all that?
Basically, what I got from Jerome this week was basically what he reiterated from the last meeting. And what he's saying is we're not in a rush to cut rates. And I
Mm,
agree with him right now. You can't just start cutting rates because of the current climate of what is going on, and you need to
right.
start collecting more data to figure out the path that you're looking for as far as inflation is concerned. So I agree with him there. I'm in the camp that we're probably going to see no more than maybe one rate cut this year. That's just 0 to 1. That's where I'm at right now. And to me, the only thing in my mind that will get them to speed up that process or possibly get them to start cutting rates is if we start
Mhm.
to see higher unemployment. That to me will, because remember what we saw last year, right? When we saw that uptick in jobless claims and saw that
Yep.
uptick in what
Yep.
happened? 50 basis point right out the gate.
Yep. Yep.
So I actually think that Jerome is trying to keep us from getting into a deep recession. And if that means that we got to hold rates where we are, I am okay with that because, again, I go back to last year. A lot of companies did pretty well. The market did pretty well despite the higher rates that we saw. Everybody didn't do well, but if you look at the totality of the market did okay.
Okay, did okay. Yep.
Now we had 50 basis point cut, and then I think we had 225 basis point cut last year. So we've kind of come down.
Right.
He still feels we're at a restrictive level. So he's saying we're going to hold here and see how things react.
Yep.
Um, I will say this: Chevron's cutting their workforce, right? I think Facebook is cutting their
Meta
workforce.
Meta caught a lot of people out. Yep.
Yep. And now we're hearing that the federal government is possibly going to cut some of their workforce with this Trump buyout proposition.
Yep. And I was surprised at the numbers, the number of people who actually took the buyout. I was like, whoa, like all of y'all just want to leave. Like a lot of people took the buyout. You know what I mean? And I think the buyout, you get paid till September, your full salary, I believe,
I think that's what it is. So
and you don't have to show up. God damn. Somebody pay me that. Pay me all of it
so
up front too. Like
so what I will be looking at is what happens with the unemployment numbers over the next couple of months? Because right now
Right.
we kind of came down from 4.1 to 4. So if we teeter around 4.14, 3.9, 3.8, things like that, I don't think the Fed will have any incentive to cut rates. I really don't think so. We start creeping up 4.2, 4.3, 4.4,
Yeah.
then I think they need to start rethinking things. But as of now, like I said, we still don't know how inflationary tariffs are going to be. We don't have the
Right.
data yet.
Right.
We still, you know, Trump is still negotiating with Canada and still negotiating with Mexico.
Right.
He's kind of talked about the retaliatory tariffs, but then he kind of talked today that he was going to make some exemptions with automotive and pharmaceuticals. So right now, the tariff thing to me, it's a negotiating tactic because nothing has really
Right.
hit full force yet. I mean, even with China right now, we haven't really got like a real hard number on what they're gonna do with China.
Right.
David Tepper has big positions in Alibaba, and he's still bullish on China.
Yep.
So it's a wait and see approach, just based on what I'm seeing right now. And again, until we get a full quarter in, and then we start looking at what happened in that past quarter, I'm kind of like the market has the ability to just continue to chug along and kind of, I'm not expecting any big moves, but
Right.
I
Right.
still think that the market can figure it out. And it has so far.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I think the negotiating tactic is definitely is the thing that's he's working on. Like even with China, China put a 15% uh, tariff on us at least. I think, but I don't know when that's
Okay.
going to be enforced. I think they put a 15% taxes tariff on us across the board. But
Hmm.
again, when would that be enforced? I have no idea. Probably have to look at it. But the other thing is, I know Powell is under a lot of pressure from President Trump to
Oh, yeah.
lower the rate. Now, the Feds operate on numbers. They don't operate on public opinion, none of that stuff. So it's like that's what they focus on. They focus on the numbers. That's what derives them, right? Whether to lower the
Yeah.
interest rate, whether to
Hmm.
increase the interest rate. So I guess I just wanted to make it clear that the president has no influence on what the Feds does.
No,
Now with this
those are,
whole thing with Doge and all that stuff, I don't know. There might make an exception. You know what I mean? They're about to send those to the Department of Defense, so I don't know what they're gonna find there. So it's gonna be interesting. But I think people just need to know like the Fed typically is very independent of whatever politics, whatever stuff that's happening, because they literally just look, regardless of who you are, regardless of what your economic background is, the numbers that impact everybody, not just individual people, impact everybody. That's what they focus on when it comes to the interest rate and all that.
and that's what they're supposed to focus on. Now, what I will say is when Jerome's term is up, it'll be real interesting to see who President Trump elects.
Bro,
And we'll see if he elects someone who he feels he can
control.
control.
Because that's what he thought with Jerome. Remember, he brought Jerome in 2020. He's like, oh, I can probably. Jerome, like, nope, nah, my man.
And
But
I think Jerome, I mean, they've had their missteps, but I think overall, Jerome has done a very, very good job. Now, I will say
yep,
this, one of the things I did hear in the question and answer was I forget what state it was. Somebody was like, "Oh, are we in a recession?" He said, "No." He said, "Well, I call that a soft landing." And Jerome didn't want to sit there and, claim victory on inflation yet. He was just
right,
like, "We still got work to do." So, based on raising rates as fast as they did and then cutting rates where they are now, I will say avoiding a recession and any real like detriment to the market because again, inflation has been pretty under control. Inflation has come down. We haven't
mhm,
seen a recession yet. I will say that's a win for him. There's still more work to be done,
right.
but we haven't seen anything catastrophic, which I think it's been really really good. So I commend him for that, and also commend him for sticking to his guns because
Yeah, yeah.
they be
He's
trying
he's
they be
definitely
trying
getting
to
tested. he gets
Yeah,
tested.
he gets tested. He gets tested. He's consistent. I'll give him
Yep,
that. He's consistent.
yep. So let's pivot to a little bit of the energy sector. I know our beloved Aklo hit like 59, almost $60 this week. Um, yeah, they hit like $59 the high this week, I think.
I think that was last week, the 7th.
Last week, yes.
Yes.
59 last week. Now, I am a little concerned. I was thinking about even taking some profits because one of their reporting, they're reporting on what day is that? They're reporting
Uh,
next month.
Next month, the 27th, is
Right.
what I have as a possible report date.
Right. So they're reporting next month. So I'm like, I'm at a place where like I'm contemplating, like, should I take some profits like the day before earnings? Because I don't know what direction they're gonna go. If they drop, I'll buy some more. But I was like, you know what? Drop or not, if they drop, I'm gonna buy some more. If they go up, good for us. You know what I mean? So I think I'm gonna just keep my position for this for now.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm always going to hedge my positions. I think that's just prudent as
Right.
far as risk management is concerned. So I'll buy some cheap out of the money puts. If there's a big
Puts.
move to the downside, it is what it is. If it moves up and my puts go to, to zero, that's fine.
Right. Right.
But what I want people to do is, and I think you probably need a subscription, but there's a good article in Forbes about the $1 trillion AI data center opportunity.
Mm,
And everybody, I think, is always focused on chips, 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 chips. But these data centers run 24/7.
we need.
Power, power, power,
Yep.
power, power. So the technology that I want people to pay attention to, that the government is on board with, is small modular reactors, SMRs.
Mm-hmm.
And they come in various sizes based on the what people are expecting them to power. Oklo kind of plays in the space of the micro reactor space. And then
Right.
there's another company, SMR, that plays in the space that's a little bit bigger than that. And there's also some other private companies that play in that space.
Bro,
But if
I'm gonna stop you there. So when you talk about the small modular, nuclear energy thing, right?
mm-hmm,
You see what Enron, I mean, we're talking about this. I don't know if it's fake or not, but Enron, the energy company, they came out with an egg. It looks like literally just like a small egg like that, where you can take it to your house and be able to power your house basically using nuclear energy.
no way.
Now, I don't know if it's true, but I've seen some videos on it. I was like, I don't know, man. I gotta see if this is AI. Forbes actually reported on that, I think back on January 7th. It's called the Enron at home nuclear reactor, but it's actually fake.
I thought that Enron video that people created, like, oh, we're back. I thought that was AI. That was a hoax.
Yep, yep. But it turns out to be fake, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I guess my thing is, have we seen anybody who came out with an actual product to be able to use it in such a way where it's small enough you can be able to move it around and it's nuclear?
That's actually scary if it's nuclear, though.
Walking around with a bomb in your house.
So this is the thing. There is actually a website for the Enron egg.
I think it's fake, dude.
It has to be. Somebody must have bought the rights to this, like,
Somebody's trolling.
yeah. Because if
Somebody,
you go to enron.com/pages
yep,
slash the egg,
I see it.
yeah, this has to be fake. This has to be fake.
There's
This
ain't
has
no
to be fake.
way. And they have a whole video in here.
Yeah, this has to be fake. I would not be surprised if people are putting in their personal information and their people are so I'm on Forbes.com. Okay, yeah. It says Forbes.com says meet the Enron egg, meet the Enron egg, an at-home nuclear reactor that's totally fake. Yeah, it's
Totally
fake.
fair, yeah. So again, I think this thing might come out as a joke right now, but I think some companies taking it seriously. And I think Oklo might be actually in the mix of that. And I think that's what I was trying to get back to. Is like with all the designs that we're doing, I know we're looking at data center, I know we're looking at, you know, powering those, AI chips, data centers, and all these different things. But maybe I'll say maybe like 20 years down the road, that's probably going to be the next product. And the company that's actually going to be able to package a nuclear. I mean, I can say nuclear because it sounds crazy to us right now, but it's doable if you can figure out how to compact it to and make it like safe enough for not to like overreact for a home use. I mean,
that's actually a scary thought.
and that's what I say. I think it's scary for us right now, but when it happens, it might happen in a different way. You were like, "Oh shoot, I didn't think about it happening in that way." You know what I mean?
The way I think I could see it happening is somebody like Oklo or SMR creating a station that will
Mm-hmm.
power cities.
Right.
I don't know about actually putting the reactor in your home.
I
I
don't
would
know.
be, if I heard one of my neighbors had one of those, I would move. I would move because one mishap, one, I forgot to service it,
Yeah,
something went wrong,
fell
I would
down.
be scared. I would be scared because look at this. This is how I think about it. People are saying that the fires in LA were started by a bad transmitter
Right.
in Pasadena. Can you imagine an entire community that has nuclear reactors powering their homes?
That's a
You
war
know
zone
how
waiting to happen.
that's a I mean, something goes wrong. I mean, we've
Yep.
had PG&E have some issues with their power lines,
Yep.
caused a big fire. You had Edison down in SoCal. They're being blamed for the fires down there. I would be
Mhm.
very. But the thing is, nuclear is actually clean energy.
Right.
So a lot of people are big on this going green and having more clean energy. So
Right. But think about it though. If you think about a lot of the energies that we have today, electricity to some people back in the day seemed like a scary shit. Because it's like,
that's true.
how do I have this electricity running through my house and I can power X, Y, and Z with it, right?
Hmm.
Even if we take it all the way back to fire, like you mean I could have fire in my house and be able to cook and be able to, you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
all of those things that we think about that used to be like in that people's
Impossible. Yeah,
generation
yeah,
impossible,
yeah,
but then somebody
yeah.
takes it and make it possible and safe for us to use it. So that's why I'm like, it might not happen now, but I think that Enron Energy egg thing, it starts out as a joke. Somebody's gonna
But
take it serious.
somebody's looking at it and saying, "Can this really be done?"
Yes, yes. And I'm telling you, whoever comes out with it first, that's gonna be a
The,
crazy project.
the, the thing that I would think about is whoever can think about if the thing goes bad, right?
Right.
If there's a way to build an encasing that basically keeps it
Yep.
from like going
Overreacting. Yep.
overreacting, if you can build a technology around that, maybe it becomes safe. But I don't want to be alive when that happens.
You probably will be though. You probably will be. The way technology moves these days, you probably will be around when that happens. You know what I mean? We might be able to tell our kids that we had this discussion like years ago and we were scared about it, but now it's like oh, it's a normal thing. You have a
Yeah,
nuclear
because I
in
mean,
your house.
yeah, you look at autonomous cars. If you would have told me there'd be
Exactly.
autonomous cars, yeah, that's true.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's like I think it's just the way we take it and the way they be able to like compact the energy and figure
Yeah.
out a safety mechanism to it. You know what I mean? So if
Hmm.
something happens, there's a way where because it's basically like all this what do they call it? Is it not neurons? neutrons, whatever. It's basically like you trying to make sure they don't like get out of order because
Yeah,
if they
yeah,
get out of order, if they like get a change in temperature or a change in something, they start eating each other and they start growing, right? That's basically what nuclear is. It's like
yeah,
it just grow exponentially until they get too big, they can't go anymore, and then it just dissipate in the air, which leaves trails and trails of you know
yeah.
reactors and all that stuff. So it's like it's yeah. But if somebody can figure out to take small quantum, small parts of it and be able to use it, I mean, yeah, like that will save us like a lot. You know what I mean? So I don't know, but yeah, I think it's doable, dude. Well, I think you're frozen, man. I think we lost Wale. All right, y'all. Well, I think we lost Wale, so let's see if he's come back, and then we can go ahead and get started. But in any case, I think this is a perfect way to do our lives because we didn't get a chance to share anything today. We could have shared some stuff, but yep, I'm gonna go ahead and jump off, and then let me actually text Wale real quick and see if he's jumping back on.